Let's delve into the feature on the show for today. The Consumer Price Index, which measures inflation, increased by 12.82% year-on-year in July 2020. This is 0.26 percentage points higher than the rate recorded in June 2020, 12.56%. That's according to recent reports from the National Bureau of Statistics. On a month-on-month basis, the headline index increased by 1.25% in July 2020. This is 0.04 percentage points higher than the rate recorded in June 2020, 1.21%. The percentage change in the average composite CPI for the 12 months period ending July 2020 over the average of CPI for the previous 12 months period was 12.05%, representing a 0.15 percentage points increase from 11.9% recorded in June. The urban inflation rate increased by 13.4% year-on-year in July 2020 from 13.18% recorded in June 2020, while the rural inflation rate increased by 12.28% in July 2020 from 11.99% in June 2020. Rural index also rose 1.23% in July 2020, up by 0.04 from the rate recorded in June 2020, 1.19%. Joining me now via Skype is the Director General of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dr. Muda Yusuf, to discuss the impact of these figures on pricing and the entire business climate in the country. DG, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to you.
Yes, I know to you it's not new that the figure is going higher, but let's discuss the impact of these figures on pricing and the entire business climate. What does this mean for us?
Thank you very much. First, let me say that even the figures we have seems to be understating the situation. Because all of us exist in this economy, and we know how things are, especially with respect to prices. Whether on the side of those who are in production or business, or on the side of the individuals or consumers. So the situation has been very, very bad. Core inflation, which was reported at 10.10%, and month on month, it was reported that it has dropped by 0.03%. I have some reservations about that, because core inflation is driven largely by import prices. And import prices in the last couple of months has risen dramatically and considerably. First, because of the exchange rate depreciation that we have experienced, all imported items prices have gone up significantly. Secondly, because of the issues of the disruptions that we have seen in the supply chains, many people could not get in their raw materials. That affected the supply side, and that also shot up prices. Thirdly, there is the issue of the liquidity crisis in the foreign exchange market. So to report a slight reduction in core inflation month on month, I don't quite agree with it. So the point I'm making is that the situation with inflation is quite worrisome. And as for impacts, of course, there are impacts both on business and on the welfare of the people. On the business side, of course, this implies that production costs has been going up, operation costs has been going up, the cost of logistics has been rising, and this means that profitability of businesses will reduce. Because the higher your prices, the more difficult it becomes for you to sell. Depending on the category of products, there is what you call consumer resistance, which reflects the elasticity of demand. For those who are faced with products that are highly elastic in demand, it's very difficult for them to even increase their price. So that means all these increases in costs will have to be absorbed by them. So it's affecting profitability, profit margins, it's affecting turnover, and ultimately it will affect the sustainability of businesses, the mortality of businesses. So this is what it means for business. It is not all costs that businesses can pass on to consumers. So once you have that kind of situation, the businesses have to absorb a lot of this cost, and that will affect the sustainability of their business. Then on the side of the consumers, of course, we know what the economy is, we know what the purchasing power is, we know what the poverty situation is. So increasing prices means that purchasing power will further diminish. And that will mean an aggravation or escalation of poverty. We have seen the figures regarding unemployment. We know what that means for the average Nigerian when the unemployment numbers are increasing. That means that for the few people that are working, they will have to shoulder the burden of those who are not employed. So that means that the chain of poverty will continue to expand, as it were. So it has a major implication for purchasing power. It has a major implication for the welfare of the people. So there are serious welfare effects on the side of citizens, and there are also issues of business sustainability and business continuity effects on the part of the corporates or the business sector. So these are some of the implications of the heightening or rising inflationary pressure in the economy.
Thank you, DG, for detailed explanation there, talking about how it affects all and sundry. Now, I'm also looking at a situation where we move into recession, which looks like it's inevitable at the moment. Even UK's recession is going to affect us one way or the other because of bilateral trade and all of that. What do you think about these figures when all of this happens? You've alluded to the ugly figures also from unemployment rates and all of this. Where are we going 2020 as we move on?
Well, the situation is that things will have to get worse before it gets better. I think that is the scenario that one can see from what is happening. There have been a lot of dislocations and disruptions already inflicted by the COVID-19 situation. Many businesses are still struggling to come back to life. Many of them have not been able to even come back, put themselves together to come back. Many of them have collapsed completely, and all of that. And once you have that situation, it means that it will take a toll both on business and on the citizens. And for as long as you have that situation continue, and it's likely to continue for the next couple of months, perhaps till the end of the year. So when that is happening, coupled with the looming recession, you are likely to see even more challenging environment, both on the welfare front and on the business sustainability front. So what we are likely to see is that between now and the end of the year, the situation may get a bit worse, but perhaps from the first quarter of next year, things may begin to get better. When the momentum of economic activities begin to come alive again, when the global economy is coming up again, and all of that. Because all of these things also a function of how active the economy is, whether domestically or globally. So those are the things that will determine the scenarios that we should be seeing in the months to come. But certainly, things will have to get worse before it gets better.
It's on that note that we'll leave it today. Things will have to get worse before they get better. DG, thank you very much for your time. We're going to get a day to really talk about this on how it affects all levels of businesses. We're going to be talking about the worst hits, talking about the hotels, tourism sector, and all of that. We'll get a date to talk about this. Thank you, Director General, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dr. Muda Yusuf. It's always a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you very much.